Welcome back to the Revenge Chronicles, the place where real stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and shocking revenge come to life. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because you don't want to miss what happens next in today's story. Now listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you is something I never imagined could happen in my own family. My daughter-in-law once looked me dead in the eye and shouted, "You won't get anything from your son's $70 million. But what happened after that left her speechless, and trust me, she never saw it coming. Tell me, was I wrong for what I did next? My name is Linda, I'm 67 years old, and my life used to be simple, peaceful even. My husband, Richard, passed away about 10 years ago, leaving behind a comfortable life that we built together from nothing. We weren't born into wealth. We earned it. He ran a construction company that grew into a nationwide business, and when he died, our son Michael took over and turned it into something massive. I was so proud of him, not just because of his success, but because he was kind, humble, and always said, "Mom, I'll never forget who helped me get here." That was before he met her, Vanessa. Vanessa was beautiful, young, and confident. She had that kind of charm that could light up a room, but behind that smile, I always sensed something else, something calculating. I didn't want to judge her too quickly, but every mother has instincts. And mine were screaming from day one. They met at some charity gala. She was working as a PR consultant, and Michael said she was different from other women. She laughed at all his jokes, complimented him endlessly, and within 6 months, they were married in a wedding that looked like it came straight out of a luxury magazine. At first, I tried to be supportive. I really did. I told myself, "Linda, give her a chance. She'll grow on you." But it didn't take long for her true colors to shine through. Vanessa hated the idea of me being involved in Michael's life. Whenever I called, she'd answer and say, "He's busy right now, Linda, I'll have him call you later," but that call rarely came. When I visited, she made me feel like an intruder in my own son's home. The hugs got shorter, the conversations colder, and soon, I felt like I was walking on eggshells every time I was around her. One day, I stopped by to drop off some homemade food. Vanessa opened the door, looked at the dishes, and said, "Oh, thanks, but we don't really eat this kind of stuff anymore. Michael's on a new diet." Then she just shut the door behind her. I stood there, holding an empty casserole dish, wondering how the sweet boy I raised had turned into a stranger. As months passed, Michael became more distant. Whenever I asked about his business or his health, he'd say, "Mom, Vanessa and I have everything under control." He was smiling, but I could tell, there was something off. And then, the worst day of my life came, the day I lost my son. Michael died in a car accident on his way home from a business trip. The news shattered me. I remember collapsing to the floor, screaming his name, feeling like my whole world had been ripped apart. My only son, gone. At the funeral, I stood there numb, as people offered their condolences. Vanessa was sobbing dramatically, but I couldn't tell if it was grief or guilt. Something about her tears didn't seem real. After the ceremony, when the lawyer contacted me about Michael's estate, I assumed, as his mother, I'd be part of the discussion. But when I arrived at the law office, Vanessa was already there, wearing black sunglasses and that same smug smirk she always wore when she felt in control. The lawyer opened a folder and began explaining the will. According to the document, everything, the house, the cars, the investments, the company shares, all of it was in Michael's name. And since he was married, it automatically transferred to his wife. I felt my heart sink. I didn't care about the money, not really. I just wanted something, anything to hold on to. A memory. A piece of my son's life that I could keep close. But then Vanessa turned to me and said, loud enough for everyone in that office to hear, "You won't get anything from your son's $70 million, Linda. Nothing. Michael was my husband, not yours." I swear, time froze in that moment. My hands trembled, my chest tightened, and I could barely breathe. The lawyer looked away awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable. I didn't say a word. I just got up and walked out, tears blurring my vision. For weeks, I lived in silence. The house felt colder than ever. Every photo of Michael felt like a dagger to the heart. But grief has a strange way of turning pain into purpose. Because one day, while going through some old files that Richard had kept in the attic, I found something that changed everything. A folder labeled Company Ownership Records. Inside were the original documents showing that when Richard retired, he had legally transferred 60% of the company shares to me, not to Michael. Michael had been managing the business, yes, but I was still the majority shareholder, which meant that when Michael passed away, Vanessa didn't actually own the company. I did. My heart raced as I realized what this meant. She'd publicly humiliated me, thrown her greed in my face, and told everyone I was a nobody, when in truth, she was the one living off my legacy. So, I called our family attorney, the same man who'd handled Richard's estate years ago, and explained everything. He reviewed the documents and confirmed it. Legally, Vanessa had no control over the company or its assets tied to those shares. She might have inherited Michael's personal wealth, but the company, and a majority of its profits, still belonged to me. That's when I started planning my quiet revenge. For months, I said nothing. I let Vanessa think she'd won. She sold the mansion, bought herself a new penthouse downtown, and started dating again. Some young model she flaunted all over social media. She even changed her Instagram bio to independent, powerful, and unstoppable. But what she didn't know was that the company, which provided her monthly dividends, was about to change drastically. I called an emergency board meeting and made a few strategic moves. First, I liquidated several of the company's assets that were underperforming, which temporarily reduced her dividends. Then, I restructured the ownership model, converting part of the company into a charitable trust under my name, the Michael Foundation, honoring my son's legacy. Guess where that trust redirected the profits? Not to Vanessa. To causes Michael actually cared about: children's hospitals, community schools, and scholarships. Within 2 months, Vanessa's income stream dried up. Her 70 million lifestyle began to crumble. She started calling me, first politely, then frantically. "Linda, I think there's been a mistake. My dividend payments stopped." I calmly replied, "There's no mistake, dear. I just decided to put my son's money where his heart truly was." She exploded, screaming, "You can't do this to me." And I said, "Oh, but I can. Remember when you said I wouldn't get anything from my son's 70 million? You were right, I didn't get it. But I made sure no one else would waste it either." Her voice cracked, and she hung up. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Maybe I went too far. But tell me, if someone mocked your loss, disrespected your son's memory, and tried to erase you from his life, would you just sit back and let it happen? So that's the situation I was in. Before I tell you how it all ended, pause for a moment and tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have let her take everything, or would you have fought back the way I did? Anyway, a few weeks after that call, Vanessa showed up at my doorstep. Her perfect hair was messy, her eyes swollen. She was crying, real tears this time. She said, "Linda, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean those things I said. I thought I deserved something after losing him too." For a moment, I almost softened. Almost. But then I remembered the way she'd humiliated me at the lawyer's office. The way she'd made my son choose between us. The way she'd lived off his success without ever understanding what it cost to build it. I said quietly, "You lost your husband, Vanessa. I lost my son. Don't you dare compare our pain." She looked down, ashamed, and left without another word. Months passed. The company thrived under the new foundation model, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. I wasn't rich in money, though I had plenty, but rich in purpose. I spent my days visiting hospitals, attending scholarship ceremonies, and seeing Michael's name carved on plaques that would stand long after I was gone. And Vanessa? She sold her penthouse, downsized to a smaller apartment, and disappeared from social media entirely. Last I heard, she'd moved out of state and was trying to start over. Maybe she'll learn something from this. Maybe she won't. But one thing's certain. She'll never forget the day she told me I'd get nothing from my son's fortune. Because that day, she set her own downfall in motion. I sometimes visit Michael's grave and talk to him. I tell him about the foundation, the kids we're helping, and the lives we're changing. And though he's gone, I can almost hear him say, "I'm proud of you, Mom." So no, I don't regret what I did. I didn't take revenge out of hate. I took back control out of love. I honored my son's memory in the only way I knew how, by making sure his legacy lived on with dignity, not greed. If you were me, would you have done the same? Thank you for listening to my story. If you believe I did the right thing, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Share your thoughts in the comments, because I read every one of them. And don't forget to subscribe to the Revenge Chronicles for more true stories of betrayal, justice, and sweet revenge. I'll see you all in the next story.